Welcome to 10-Minute IELTS. Today, we'll be learning about vocabulary, specifically words you can use to describe anything under the sun. Now, the two types or particular parts of speech that are used to describe are adjectives and adverbs. Now, take note that adjectives are words that describe nouns, whereas adverbs are words that describe adjectives, verbs, and even adverbs, which we'll talk about shortly. For now, let's focus on adjectives. And notice that most will focus just on adjectives related to looks, such as size, color, and shape. But there are also many other adjectives or ways to describe nouns through the use of our five senses. Besides looks, there's also how it sounds, which could be quiet, peaceful, loud, or noisy. You could even describe how it smells. It could be aromatic, fragrant, maybe savory, or smelly. And another way to describe a noun would be to talk about how it feels. Maybe it's soft, hard, crispy, or crunchy. And lastly, if possible or if it applies, we can also describe how a noun tastes. We could say it is sweet, salty, bland, or spicy. To give you an example of how we can describe to show a great level of fluency, let's talk about what we would like to order from a restaurant. Now, a simple way to mention your order to a waiter would be, "Waiter, I would like to order some steak." Now that's fine, that's great. That's actually fluent and passable to get a band score of 7 if you're taking the IELTS speaking exam. But if you want to really impress people, then let's try adding the other types of adjectives to describe the steak in particular. We could say, "Waiter, I would like to order," what size of a steak? Maybe you want to order a huge steak. And that would sound a little bit better. Maybe we can talk about how the color of the steak would be like, and we could say that it is brown. We could even say that its shape would be round, but I think that's not necessary. Let's move on to how it smells. Let's say it smells savory. Before we move on to how it feels, let's say it feels hot, and the taste could be delectable or delicious. So that when you make your order, instead of saying, "Waiter, I would like to order some steak," you could say, "Waiter, I would like to order a huge, brown, savory, hot, delectable steak for dinner." And that sounds so much better than the previous one. In fact, it sounds like you've made a custom order for the restaurant, which is something that most people do in Starbucks also. We can also apply this in another way by adding adverbs to the mix. In what way could we add adverbs? Now, the most common adverbs that most non-native speakers of a language would use is very. Please do not use very. It's too common and it doesn't really say so much about the word. "Oh, how do you feel?" "I am good." "I am very good." And that's still not very fluent or not fluent at all for me. So let's try to avoid saying very and replace it with the other extents or adverbs instead, such as extremely, moderately, and slightly. Now, to improve your vocabulary, it would help to know the other words for extremely, such as exceptionally, immensely, and amazingly, if you like, if it's something that really is amazing for you. Otherwise, we could also talk about words that replace moderately, such as significantly, somewhat, and fairly. For slightly, we can use words such as barely, marginally, and insignificantly. Now, let's use the example on top and see how we can add adverbs to each adjective. Instead of saying waiter, I would like to order a huge brown steak, we could give an extent to how huge this steak would be. Let's say that it is a exceptionally huge steak. We could even add how brown it is. We could say it's moderately brown. How savory would you like it to be, sir? Let's say it is significantly savory. And if we want to talk about how hot, we don't want it to be too hot, maybe just slightly, barely, or maybe even fairly hot. And immensely delectable. Wow, look how long that sentence has become already. But let's read it out loud anyway. Waiter, I would like to order an exceptionally huge, moderately brown, significantly savory, fairly hot, and immensely delectable steak. Wow, instead of just saying, waiter, I would like to order some steak, this obviously shows a wide range of words and an exceptional use of adjectives and adverbs to describe the word steak, which would get you a 9.0 in the speaking IELTS exam. Now, I know it sounds extreme, and I don't imagine we would always use words like this, though it can be impressive. I mean, you could even just say that for lunch, I had a fairly large, somewhat transparent, clearly shapeless, barely aromatic, notably soft, and tasteless serving of air. But I don't think it's very practical to talk like this all the time, and it's not something that we can always remember to do, especially in an actual exam. But it is a good idea so that we know how we can possibly improve some of our descriptions when we talk or even write. Just adding one adjective and one adverb could completely change the way your language or your speaking ability looks. For example, I could just say conversationally when I'm asked to describe my house. It's a common task in IELTS speaking. Describe your house. I could say, I live in a moderately sized apartment with fairly exquisite furniture that I bought from a significantly popular shopping district called Divisoria. Already your house sounds lavish and beautiful just because of the adverb and the adjectives that you use to describe the apartment and furniture. Now, you could even take it another step further and talk about what your family did as well from it. Let's take that out and say, my overly protective mother absolutely adores the amazingly lavish decor of her barely priced attire from the place. That already sounds needlessly dramatic, but very descriptive, and I think it's something that you can practically do to improve your language. And even go on to say that next time, I'll make sure to get you an exceptionally surprising and considerably thoughtful gift from Divisoria as well. And even if it comes from a cheap bargaining place, your friend will definitely appreciate the effort you put into giving them a surprising and thoughtful gift. I believe that this is one of the best ways you could possibly ace your exam in speaking or writing, because it is simple to do and directly applicable to everyday life, not just for IELTS. So remember that the next time you start describing anything, add an adverb before an adjective, and then finally give your noun. It does not necessarily have to be a lot of adjectives and a lot of adverbs, but the more you add, the more impressive your language will seem. Well, those are my 10 minutes. I hope this has been useful. Good luck with your review, and remember to like, share, and subscribe to my channel. And if you like, you can click on the link in the description for online coaching. Thank you for your time and good luck.